The night Alpha King Draven Ashborn banished his mate, the moon hung low and red over Crimson Moon territory, as if the sky itself refused to look away. Elira stood in the center of the great hall, her hands pressed against her stomach, though no one but her knew why. The whole pack had gathered, drawn by the Beta's accusation that rang through the stone walls like a struck bell. Their Luna had betrayed them. She had, he claimed, passed pack secrets to the Nightfall Alliance, an enemy pack that had raided their borders only days before. It was a lie, every word of it. But lies delivered with enough confidence rarely need to be true to be believed. Draven did not ask his mate to speak. He did not ask for proof. He looked at her with eyes that had once held nothing but warmth, and in that moment, they held only fury and betrayal instead. Later, he would tell himself he had been protecting his pack. In truth, he had simply been afraid that his own judgment had failed him, and too proud to admit it. It was easier to condemn her than to doubt himself. "You are no longer welcome among us," he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. "Leave before sunrise, and do not return." Elira did not beg. She did not cry out. She only looked at him once, long enough for him to see something break behind her eyes, and then she turned and walked out into the night alone. She did not tell him she was carrying his children. She would not give him the chance to change his mind out of duty rather than love. If he wanted her gone, he would learn one day exactly what he had thrown away. She walked for 3 days through the forest, wounded in body and worse in spirit, until her strength gave out at the edge of a territory marked with symbols she did not recognize. Old symbols, older than her own pack's history. She collapsed there, expecting to die alone among the roots and the cold. Instead, she woke to warmth, and to faces she did not know. The Order of the Shadow Wolves had not shown themselves to outsiders in over 100 years. Most packs believed they were only a story, a legend told to pups about wolves who served the moon goddess directly and bowed to no king. But legends, Elira would learn, sometimes have a way of stepping out of the dark when they are needed most. Their leader, an old wolf named Kale, examined her with calm, unreadable eyes. "You carry more than yourself," he said, before she had spoken a single word about her condition. "The goddess does not send the wounded to our door without reason." Elira wept then, for the first time since her banishment, not from fear, but from something like relief. She stayed, in the safety of the Shadow Wolves' hidden valley, surrounded by mist that no outsider could cross without invitation. She carried her children to term. When her time came, she gave birth not to one child, but 2. A son and a daughter, born within moments of each other, their eyes opening to reveal a pale, silver shade that made even the elders of the Order fall silent. "Silver eyes," Kale murmured, studying the newborns. "That mark has not been seen in 1,000 years. Not since the first wolves who walked beside the goddess herself." Elira named her son Ronan and her daughter Kessa. She did not know, in that quiet moment holding both of them against her chest, that she was holding the future of 2 packs in her arms, one that had cast her out, and one that had taken her in. Years passed in the hidden valley. Elira raised her twins not as children in hiding, but as warriors in training. She told them everything, who their father was, what he had done, and why she had chosen silence over surrender. She did not raise them to hate him blindly. She raised them to understand exactly what had happened, so that when the day came, they would know the difference between revenge and justice. Ronan grew steady and quiet, with a patience that unsettled even seasoned fighters twice his age. Kessa grew sharp and quick, her mind working faster than her feet, which was already fast. Together they trained under Kale and the Order's finest, learning combat, strategy, and the old ways of the Shadow Wolves that had been passed down since before Crimson Moon existed. Meanwhile, far beyond the mist, Crimson Moon began to crumble. Without a true Luna, the pack's strength weakened in ways that could not be explained by numbers alone. The bond between an alpha and his people is not just command, it is balance. And Draven's had been broken the night he sent Elira away. Crops failed more often. Warriors fought among themselves. The Nightfall Alliance, emboldened, pressed harder at the borders each season. And the truth, as it always does eventually, began to surface. A traitor's slip of the tongue here, an old warrior's guilty confession there. Slowly, painfully, evidence emerged that the real traitor had not been Elira at all, but the beta who accused her, a wolf who had wanted the throne close enough to seize, should Draven ever fall, and who had used Elira's exile to weaken the pack's foundation from within. Draven learned the truth 2 years after banishing his mate. He did not sleep well after that. He searched for her, sent trackers into every territory, questioned every pack that might have taken in a lone, wounded wolf. But the Shadow Wolves Valley could not be found by anyone the goddess had not chosen to let inside. Year after year, his search came back empty, and year after year, the guilt hollowed him out a little more. He was still Alpha King, he still ruled. But he ruled like a man serving a sentence rather than a purpose, and the pack could feel the difference, even if they did not know its cause. Back in the Hidden Valley, the twins turned 18, the winter the sacred Shadow Wolves chose to reveal themselves. The sacred Shadow Wolves were spirit guardians of the Order, ancient beings tied to the valley itself, said to choose new riders only once in a generation, and only when they judged someone worthy of carrying their power into the world. No one in living memory had been chosen. Many in the Order believed the sacred wolves had stopped choosing altogether, content to remain hidden forever. They chose Ronan and Kessa on the same night, appearing before the twins in the clearing where the mist was thinnest. 2 great wolves of shifting shadow and silver light, larger than any living wolf, their eyes glowing the same pale silver as the twins' own. Kale wept when he saw it. "This has not happened in 100 years, he said. "The goddess is telling us something. It is time." Elira understood immediately what her children were being called to do. "You do not have to go," she told them, though her voice trembled with the effort of saying it. "You do not owe him anything, not forgiveness, not an audience, not even the truth. We are not going for him," Kessa said. "We are going for you." Ronan took his mother's hand. "He took your name and your place without proof. We are giving them back, on our terms, not his." Elira looked at her children, grown now into warriors the Order itself had chosen to elevate, and she nodded, because she understood there was no stopping them, and because some part of her, buried deep beneath years of quiet pain, wanted to see Draven's face when the truth finally arrived at his door. They rode out at dawn. The pack of Crimson Moon had never seen anything like it. 2 riders emerged from the tree line atop wolves made of shifting shadow and silver light, moving with a silence that felt older than the forest itself. Word spread through the territory faster than any messenger could run. By the time the twins reached the Great Hall, half the pack had gathered outside to see them pass. Draven felt it before he saw it, a pull in his chest, ancient and unmistakable, the same pull he had felt only once before, the night he first met Elira. He walked out to meet the riders himself, and when Ronan and Kessa dismounted before him, he found himself looking into 2 pairs of silver eyes that mirrored the woman he had wronged. He did not need anyone to tell him who they were. "You have grown up strong," he said, his voice unsteady in a way none of his pack had ever heard. "Stronger than I deserve to see." "We did not come for your approval," Kessa said, her tone calm but unwavering. "We came because a lie was allowed to stand for 18 years, and it ends today." Ronan stepped forward and spoke the name of the beta who had orchestrated their mother's exile, laying out the evidence the Order had quietly gathered over the years. Testimonies, records, and the confession of an old warrior who had finally chosen honesty over fear. The pack, gathered in stunned silence, watched their Alpha King's face, as the truth he had already suspected became undeniable in front of everyone. The beta, cornered and desperate, tried to flee the hall, but the pack itself blocked his path. Wolves who had followed him out of loyalty, now turning away in disgust, as the full weight of his betrayal became clear. Draven did not order violence. He did not need to. He simply looked at the wolf who had cost him his mate, his children, and years of a reign built on guilt, and stripped him of rank in front of the entire pack, exiling him with none of the mercy he himself had failed to show Elira all those years ago. When it was done, Draven turned back to his children. "I am sorry," he said, and the words felt too small for what they were meant to carry. "I judged your mother without proof, and I let my fear cost us all these years. There is no version of this where I have earned the right to ask anything of either of you. But I am asking anyway. Is she well? Is she safe? She is stronger than she has ever been." Ronan said. She built a life without you. She does not need you to complete it. Then I hope one day she will choose to let me stand beside it, Draven said quietly. Not because I deserve it. Because I would spend the rest of my life trying to. Word reached Elira before the sun set that day. Kale relayed it gently, watching her carefully as he spoke. She listened without speaking, staring out over the mist-covered valley that had been her home and her healing for 18 years. He knelt in front of the whole pack, Kale said. He did not ask you to return. He only asked if you were well. Elira was quiet for a long moment. That is the first honest thing he has asked in a long time. She did not rush to Crimson Moon. She did not need to prove anything to anyone, least of all to the wolf who had once cast her out without a second glance. But days later, when Ronan and Kessa returned to the valley to tell her everything, she made a decision that surprised even herself. She would go, not as the banished Luna seeking forgiveness, and not as a broken woman finally allowed to come home. She would go as a mother, standing beside the children she had raised, into something greater than either pack had imagined, on equal footing with the man who had once believed he held all the power between them. Whether she would ever call Draven her mate again was a question she was not ready to answer. But she was ready, finally, to look him in the eye and let him understand exactly what he had lost, and exactly what it would take, if it was even possible, to earn any part of it back. The twins rode beside her, as she crossed into Crimson Moon territory for the first time in 18 years, the sacred shadow wolves moving like silver shadows at their side, and for the first time since the night she had walked away alone into the dark, Elira did not feel like someone running from her past. She felt like someone finally arriving to claim what should have always been hers.